whenever you're cooking, what you want to concentrate on or think about is having everything hot at the same time when you're ready to serve. It's not, it just makes it a lot nicer than having some things hot and some things cold. So you need to think about what to start to cook first. Well, since our squash is so hearty and so strong, it's going to take the longest. So I need to add a pinch of sea salt to the water. I only have about 1/4 inch of water in here. Add the squash slices and turn up the flame a little bit so that they can steam or boil. They take about 3 to 5 minutes. I added sea salt because sea salt is harvested from the sea, or else they also use rock salt. And of course it has all the minerals that naturally occur in salt. So unlike your Morton's salt or your salts from the grocery store that are just straight sodium, sea salt is completely balanced with all the other minerals. So it digests very easily in your body. And it's important. We need salt in our blood to alkalinize our blood. I found that when people get sick, or even if you have a common flu, your blood might be acidic, and minerals are what alkalinize the blood. So getting minerals from your organic vegetables or from a pinch of sea salt here and there just maintains your health and your vitality. I have this water going here for our kale. Again, I like to use only about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of water, a tiny little pinch of sea salt. The sea salt also helps to break down the cellulose fibers on the vegetable and to bring out the sweetness of the vegetable. And what I need to do is always add your greens to boiling water, because greens are high in water-soluble vitamins and minerals. So if they're added to cold water and left in the water too long, then all the minerals just leach out into the water, and it's not as strong a vegetable as if it would be if you'd cook it quicker. I like to leave the lid on when I'm cooking too, to bring up the boiling process a little bit quicker. That needs just about 1/2 minute before I add the leaves on. While we're waiting for that, get our squashes happening over here, I'm going to make our pickle. Pickles are very important for your digestion. You know, you always remember grandmas having sauerkraut or making sauerkraut. Well, I always have pickles, and this is an organic one from Eden. You can get it at any health food store, and even some of your better regular grocery stores now are carrying these really great products. What's so nice about this sauerkraut is that it was grown organically, the cabbage was grown organically, and it was pickled in sea salt. Again, just naturally fermented. Some of your Vlasic pickles have been fermented with chemicals, so this is a real natural one. Remember that red radish that we grated? I've got that right here. And the purpose of the red radish in this preparation is to just bring some color to the plate. Radish itself, though, also has some qualities that you might not know about, and that's to break up fat in the body. It's sharp when you taste it, how it's hot and sharp. Well, what that does is it goes into the body and it breaks up fat. So if ever you're eating an oily meal or a meal that's just too greasy, always have some red radishes on hand, or there's also one called daikon radish, which is a long white radish, and that's really nice too. Okay, I'll work on that just a little bit before we put it on the plate. But our stems are soft enough now to where we can just add the greens on top of them. And these greens are actually kind of boiling, blanching, kind of steaming a little bit, but I've really found that bitter greens like the kale and the collards are a lot sweeter when they're cooked in the water compared to when they're steamed in a steamer basket. That's just how it's worked out for me. You can try it yourself and see what you think. Our squash is soft enough now to where I can add the leek to it, because the leek is going to need a little bit of time to cook too. You know, I'm making a little bit more here in amounts than if you're only cooking for one. If you're cooking for one and you have less to cook, it's obviously going to go a lot faster. But this will probably take, again, maybe about 3 minutes, and then we'll be ready to finish that off. Okay, a few nice salad dressings that you can use on your greens. These are from Annie's. I really love these. There's an Annie's shiitake sesame or raspberry vinaigrette. Of course, these have no hydrogenated oils in them. They're just really clean oils. This is one made with tofu mayonnaise, and this is a creamy dill. It's really nice. So these creamy dressings can be really delicious and really low in fat. Our greens are done, our kale. Whenever I'm cooking kale or any greens, it's kind of like they're the queen of the stove, and they have priority over anything else because they'll lose their minerals the fastest. So I always take it out when it's bright green. You can see it's a real nice bright green color. Sometimes I taste it to make sure that it's soft enough to the chew. But I can tell with this one it's okay. But just never leave your greens sitting in the water. And you can see that this actually took a very quick time. It didn't take very long at all. So at your meals, always try to have on your plate some sort of live green. Either it's a freshly cooked green like this or else a live salad of some kind. I'm going to set this aside and just work on our stew. Because whoopsie. I'm going to season this off now. I'm going to add the shoyu. You can see how, I'm going to add the seitan, See how that leek is bright green? So I'm going to put this in the back. I'm going to add our seitan. The seitan's already cooked, so I don't really have to worry about cooking it any amount of time, just to maybe warm it up a little bit. Now my seasoning. This is the most important part of the preparation, actually. Whenever you season a dish, the first thing you use is the salt. And for our salt content, or in this dish, I'm using a product called umeboshi. I'll show you the packaging, so in case you do go in the health food store, you can find it. This is, in my view, this is probably one of the strongest foods on the planet, because umeboshi is a cross between an apricot and a plum that's been pickled in sea salt for, I think, like 6 to 8 months. Anyway, the reason that it's so beneficial is it's because it's a very rich or easy to digest mineral source. For our sweet and sour stew, all I need is equal parts of umeboshi paste and rice syrup. This is my sweetener. I don't use sugar in this. I just use rice syrup. Of course, this is syrup made from brown rice. And so I use about 2 tablespoons there of that. So I'll use 2 tablespoons of this. I can turn this down just a little bit. I find a little bit of water, and I just whisk it in. A little bit of the juices that this has been cooking in. Just stir it in here. And this is basically our seasoning for our sauce. Now we have water on the bottom here, so what we need to do next is thicken it. This is the last unique product I'll be introducing you to. This is a product called kuzu. I'll show you the packaging, one of the packagings from this too. Kuzu, you might have heard of kudzu. It's a root that grows in the south, and this is a relative to that, but this is different because this kuzu is grown on volcanic ash soil in Japan or Hawaii. So again, the mineral content in that soil is so rich that this is a very rich in food. And what this does is that when you're eating it, you're not just eating like empty calories from cornstarch. You're actually getting nutrition out of your thickener that you're using for your sauce. So how I do this is I usually use about 1/4 cup of water and a little bit of kuzu. And you need to stir this with your fingers though, because it's hard to break up just with a spoon, and you need to make sure it's all broken up, otherwise it'll make your stew real lumpy. And if you have a little bit left over, I'll show you, we'll see if we have a little bit left over. All we need to do is set it on the countertop and it'll separate in itself, and you can save it for the next day or put it in the fridge and then just use it whenever you get a chance to. So my liquid is boiling. This is important that it's boiling, and I'm just going to thicken the sauce. I pour it real slowly, and it's already thick. So I didn't quite need to use that much kuzu, but it's no problem. I just will put it on my counter or in my fridge, and then it's done. So I hope you can see there. how it's all thickening up. And this is our stew. And we're finished. So all we're going to do now is put it on the plate. Okay, so here's our plate of food. We have our sweet and sour seitan stew. The rice is kind of tucked underneath there. Then we have our our sauerkraut mixed with red radish, nice and colorful on the plate. Then we've got kale, which you can make a simple dressing for, or else buy one of the prepared ones. And then we have our sweet corn. One thing that I really want to mention after we've spent the time preparing this food is to take the time chewing. So since you spend a lot of time in the kitchen and buying the food and taking the time to buy organic food, it's really important to chew your food really well, because most of these are carbohydrates, and the enzymes for carbohydrates are found in the saliva. That's how the whole process of digestion starts. So if you can chew your food 20 to 30 times every bite, you will totally digest your food so much better. And when you digest your food better, you're absorbing all of the nutrients from the food. Plus, another benefit is when you chew your food really well, you slow down. And slowing down means often that you'll eat less, and so then you'll end up eating the right amount, because your stomach will get filled up and it'll have time to send messages to your brain that you don't need to eat anymore. So, let's see, what else should I mention about that? Oh yeah, also before you eat, if you can say a quick prayer, any kind of prayer, whatever that might look like, but just some kind of prayer, some kind of gratitude, praying that your body really is nourished by this food. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.